Cops, criminals, when you're staring down the barrel of a loaded gun, what's the difference? The Departed. This is Martin Scorsese's brilliant modern gangster film, taking place in Boston, with a tremendous cast. Jack Nicholson, Leonardo DiCaprio, Matt Damon, Mark Wahlberg, Martin Sheen, Vera Farmiga, Alec Baldwin, and others. Such a fantastic movie, and I have the Blu-ray here as well. I wanted to show off both because I like the Blu-ray cover, but the special edition DVD cover is pretty cool too. Underneath though it has the crappy cover. I hate this cover. It's so stupid. This DVD edition, I remember this is like Best Buy exclusive. It came with the script of the movie. So for this video, I'm just going to read the entire script of The Departed. Fed up on the South Boston housing projects, a maze of building against the harbor. Costello, voiceover. I don't want to be a product of my environment. I want my environment to be a product of me. That was a horrible Jack Nicholson impression. I'm not going to read the whole script. I'm embarrassed for myself. But The Departed, this is a great movie. One of my favorites, actually. Definitely one of Scorsese's best. This was nominated for Best Picture. Sadly, yet again, Scorsese didn't win. Oh my god, wait a minute, this won Best Picture. Holy shit. And Best Director for Martin Scorsese. It's about fucking time. Yeah, that's kind of like the big deal about this movie, that the Academy finally had the balls to finally give it to Scorsese, which is great. Yeah, and deservingly so. I mean, I wouldn't absolutely say for sure that this is his absolute 100% best film that he's ever made, but it's definitely up there. It's definitely something where, kind of in that era of new Scorsese, which I kind of feel was instigated with Gangs of New York and then The Aviator to follow. Scorsese was doing bigger projects, and more, I guess, Academy Award friendly projects. And it kind of seemed at one point that definitely he was going to win for The Aviator. But then, didn't happen. What can I say? But then finally, he does a movie, which you can almost sense that this is just kind of him flexing his muscles, sort of like another After Hours, basically. We're just sort of having fun, but then it kind of took on, a new life. Like, the famous quote from Hitchcock is, when it comes to documentaries, in a movie, the director is God. In a documentary, God is the director. But, here it's like, the Scorsese God that he is. He was doing something almost, kind of for flexion, also kind of for fun. But then it kind of evolved into something, so much, more provocative and deeper than I think was originally intended. Like, he did kind of, want this to be a sort of tribute to the great gangster films of the 20s and 30s, except with a modern edge, and it most definitely is. But I don't know. It kind of took on a new level, and like kind of what Scorsese jokes is, this is his first movie with a plot, which is sort of true. It definitely is a lot more plot heavy than some of his other movies, but that kind of adds to why this is a unique movie, and kind of it came sort of in a certain wave of films, like kind of like a post 9/11 sort of world where it was the Patriot Act basically was the huge thing, something like the Dark Knight even kind of touched upon this, but this movie's kind of like that too, like where it's like being monitored, living your life in a certain way that's an absolute lie out of fear of getting caught, and what truths do you tell to yourself? What truths are your own truths, and what is the truth? I don't even know. Does that make any sense? I don't think so. But basically, you have the two main characters basically. Billy Costigan, played by Leonardo DiCaprio, and Colin Sullivan, played by Matt Damon. They're the cat and mouse basically. Damon is really at heart a criminal, but he's sort of pretending to be a cop and having the power of a cop. Meanwhile, DiCaprio is a cop, but he has the facade of a criminal, living the life of the criminal. But basically, what is the truth between the two? What is, in your heart of hearts, and what is in your actions? And basically, when it reaches the point where point of no return, where all Costigan's ties with the outside world are diminishing. Is he stuck in this life of a criminal? He might be. I won't spoil the movie, um, but basically, yeah, it's kind of like has that kind of you know to thine own self be true kind of whatever crap, but I think it does it very well, and it does it in a very unassuming way, which I like, and added to the fact that it is this whole kind of tracking thing and monitoring thing, cell phones being watching your every move basically, which I think kind of harkens back to like the paranoid era of the 70s basically. So kind of like something like almost like Taxi Driver, where there were political elements to it, and there certainly are to this movie as well. And of course, I mean, definitely at the heart of it all is the cast, who does a great job. DiCaprio, I mean, he's a badass in this movie. He's absolutely terrific. Matt Damon, of course, he does bring complexity to this, douchebag character, basically, and you kind of see in some scenes where he is that little kid that we see at the beginning of the film. I mean, he's kind of lost, and ultimately, with the Costello character, Jack Nicholson's character, the crime kingpin, basically, he kind of is the force between the two, the connection between the two, and it is in a sort of way almost like how Coppola said The Godfather is really a story of a king and his three sons. Same can be said about The Departed, where it's a king and his two sons, but they're not really his sons, and that's kind of, bringing like the, Freudian psychological aspects to it, where, even at the end of the film, I'm sort of spoiling it here, but, Sullivan says to Costello, he's like, Costello says to Sullivan, he's like, "Oh, you were like a," and then Sullivan interrupts him. He's like a what? A son to me? Is that what this is about? All these years of killing and fucking and no kids? And so, yeah, I think it is about, it's like, they're kind of like surrogate sons to him, and, in this barren world of crime, basically. So, they're looking for father figures. He's looking for son figures. Whole psychological mess. Of course, they both fall for the therapist character, played by Vera Farmiga. In kind of typical Scorsese fashion, she is kind of like this, savior woman archetype, which, you see in his movies, but he does it well, and she does it well. I mean, this is really kind of her breakthrough movie, I think, so for all these powerhouse actors, all this intensity, and fuck this, fuck that, you fuck you motherfucker, all that. I mean, she brings a gravity to the movie that I think is very important, and she does it very well. And even Mark Wahlberg, who was actually nominated for supporting actor for his performance, I think he's great, and he's also kind of like, the symbol of justice in the movie, where you got these two characters struggling with their own identities, which is very interesting, but he has the advantage of knowing exactly who he is, exactly what is just, and he does ultimately bring the story to the closest point of justice that it can get to, I guess. But yeah, I mean, it's as complicated as a movie in terms of plot or symbolism or interpretation as you want it to be, but it's definitely a movie that's not as black and white as some people give it credit for. Some people just say, oh, it's just a gangster movie, and they all go, fuck this, fuck that. Well, yeah. There's definitely externally that's what it is, but you can interpret it as you wish, and I think it is a deeper movie than that. It has a lot of layers to it, and I do absolutely sincerely believe it is one of Scorsese's best films. Great effort. I'm so happy that he finally won the Best Director Oscar, and for a movie like this, I mean, definitely it did take balls for the Academy to get this to be the winner. I mean, it definitely wasn't like, some years there's a movie that wins where you're like, oh, yeah, that's going to win. This one, not so much. I mean, there are definitely, other movies, like I think Babel was kind of favored to win. Even like The Queen, those were kind of in favor to win. But, a lot of people thought, well, at least Scorsese will get Best Director. But for the movie to win itself as well, I think that says a lot about his work and, his dedication to the craft. And, while this isn't a huge undertaking, it is Scorsese doing what he does best. He does direct his actors expertly. He does create a scene expertly, and he creates a very intense and memorable film, I think. And this is absolutely one of my favorites. Just a great film, I think. Definitely deserving of the Oscar. One of my favorite movies to win the Academy Award for Best Picture. Maybe not everybody will agree with that, but it's a movie with high intensity and a movie that's very memorable, very rewatchable. I mean, I can't watch this movie without, fucking getting Howard Shore's score in my head, like I just can't. But yeah, I think it's a terrific film. One of the best crime films. Definitely one of the best, Boston-based films. I mean, I feel bad for Boston because they're always like, you know, if they're gonna do a Boston movie, it's always like centered on like crime or something. At least post Good Will Hunting, I guess. But Good Will Hunting's a good example. Anyway, Scorsese, he's the master. Boy, did he deserve it for this movie. Boy, he deserved it for other movies, but this time they actually got it right, so what a thing to happen. But yeah, one of my faves, one of the best to win the Academy Award, I think. And it's a great movie, so yeah, what can I say? Also, I mean, shout out to Jack Nicholson, who's terrific. He absolutely is one of those actors that definitely goes over the top, but he knows how to go over the top so well that he brings a whole other kind of force to this movie, where it is one of his best roles, and I am so bummed out that he didn't win, or didn't get nominated for Best Supporting Actor. I think he should have won. I mean, who won Best Supporting Actor that year? I can't recall. Probably somebody. So, anyway, Jack Nicholson's great, DiCaprio's great, another piece of the puzzle for DiCaprio's brilliant filmography, and another great addition to the partnership between Scorsese and DiCaprio, one that I hope will continue for years to come. And then I hope they bring us more great movies like this, The Aviator and The Wolf of Wall Street, which is also nominated for Best Picture this year. Go Leo! He'll have his day. Just like Scorsese, he'll have his day. He may have to wait till his 60s, but he'll have his day. So anyway, that's my review of The Departed. Have you seen this movie? If you haven't seen this movie, fucking watch this movie. Yeah, and that's my review. Thanks for watching.